This is the most ferocious zombie I've ever seen. It would even jump from the sky just to take a bite out of you." In 2023, a small town in the United States was experiencing a strange flu virus outbreak. The military, in an attempt to cover up the truth, sealed off the entire town under the pretense of a quarantine exercise. At this moment, a couple approached the military officer, pleading to be allowed to go to the nearby hospital to seek medical treatment for their critically ill son. However, the officer refused to grant them passage, despite their desperate pleas. Driven by the urgency to save their son, the man stepped on the accelerator and attempted to ram through the military blockade. It was at this point that Soldier Sarah recognized the couple. Sarah herself grew up in this town. Sarah, who had not been home for a long time, was not sure what her superiors were practicing, but she chooses to do her duty and actively persuade the man to take his son back to the town hospital for treatment. Reluctantly, the man turned the vehicle around and headed back to the town. Once the couple had left, Sarah confronted her superior, questioning why the town was being sealed off. However, her superior merely instructed her to follow orders. Despite her dissatisfaction, Sarah, being a low-ranking soldier, had limited options and couldn't do much more. As evening approached, Sarah decided to visit her parents' home. Upon entering, she caught her rebellious younger brother, Trevor, engaged in an intimate moment with his girlfriend, Nina. On the sofa, Sarah scolded her brother before making her way to her mother's room. It is then that Sarah realizes that her mother is seriously ill. Sarah asks her brother for information. Nina revealed that their friend Kyle had also contracted the same strange illness. Sarah, perceptive as ever, sensed that the military's sudden lockdown of the town was not as simple as it seemed. Determined to investigate further, Sarah enlisted the help of her colleague, Bud, and they headed to Kyle's house to gather information. However, as soon as they opened the door, they were confronted with blood-stained bedsheets. Startlingly, two horrifying corpses fell out of the closet behind Bud. Sarah recognized the corpses as Kyle's parents. Strangely, Kyle was nowhere to be found. Without wasting a moment, Sarah grabbed a shocked Bud and hurried back to their vehicle. To prevent further incidents, Sarah contacted her superior and reported everything they had discovered. Having done so, Sarah rushed home to take her sick mother to hospital. At the hospital, Sarah discovered that everyone in the town had contracted the same strange illness. Initially, the infected individuals exhibited symptoms similar to a common cold, with continuous coughing and nosebleeds. As the disease progressed, their bodies became stiff, their pupils turned white, and their faces started to decay, eventually transforming them into terrifying zombies. Not long after Sarah's mother arrived at the hospital, she began to undergo a transformation. Simultaneously, Nina's father, already transformed into a zombie, viciously attacked Nina's mother, tearing off her facial skin with his teeth. Meanwhile, the zombies first destroyed the electricity supply. Masses of zombies flood the streets to take over territory. Meanwhile, the superior sent a few police officers to investigate Kyle's house. Unbeknownst to them, Kyle, now turned into a zombie, was delightfully enjoying the meal that had been delivered to it. The situation at the hospital grew even worse as the mutated patients launched frenzied attacks on humans. Trevor and Nina managed to escape from the ward, but their path was quickly blocked by a horde of fast-moving zombies who still retained some of their pre-transformation abilities. Trevor and Nina scrambled quickly to the back door, fighting to keep the pursuing zombies behind them inside the metal door, then blocking it securely with a bin. They then climbed out of the hospital and crossed through a graveyard of zombies, finally reaching the chaotic streets. At that moment, Trevor and Nina saw what appeared to be someone in the radio station not far away, and they rushed towards the station without thinking too hard. However, the terrifying zombies continued to pursue them closely. Just as the zombies were about to catch up, Paul opened the door to the broadcasting station, saving Trevor and Nina. Inside, they encountered the couple from earlier, and the man recognized Fred as Sarah's brother. In front of Trevor, he accused Sarah of not allowing them passage, resulting in the death of his critically ill son. Unaware of the true events unfolding in the town, Trevor naively believed the man was speaking nonsense. Meanwhile, in the hospital, they face a massive zombie attack. Captain covers their retreat. This tough captain blocked a door alone, but there were so many zombies that Captain was instantly overwhelmed and eventually died from the zombie attack. Sarah and the others are trapped in a medical room. To get out of there, they climbed up the ventilation duct and decided to get the car keys from the captain's body. Sarah cautiously crossed the pipe, saw the captain's body and jumped down. There, she reunited with their lost teammate, Salazar. and successfully retrieved the car keys. Sarah was about to crawl back down the ventilation duct when the mutated captain sprang to his feet. Sarah fought fiercely to free herself from his grip but accidentally stepped into empty space, causing the zombies in the room to stir and attempt to drag her down for their feast. At the same time, Captain, who had turned into a zombie, was crawling towards Sarah. In the nick of time, Salazar saved her, and Bud quickly closed the ventilation duct. Unfortunately, the zombie captain takes the opportunity to take a big bite out of Bud. Sarah swiftly grabbed a nearby bottle of disinfectant and poured it over Bud's wound. However, Salazar raised his gun, ready to kill Bud. Fearing that he might turn into a zombie and pose a threat to their safety, Sarah stepped in front of Bud, blocking Salazar's attempt to kill him. Salazar, upon hearing Sarah's plea, reluctantly abandoned his plan to shoot Bud. Salazar keeps a watchful eye on Bud, ready to kill him at the first sign of mutation. After resolving their conflict, the group proceeded to craft makeshift weapons. They smashed the glass with chairs and jumped out from the inside. However, their landing attracted a horde of zombies, leaving them trapped and forced to fight. After a grueling battle, they managed to eliminate the pursuing zombies. Just as they were breathing a sigh of relief, more zombies descended from above, plunging them into despair. To make matters worse, one of the researchers in their group had found a vehicle and callously abandoned them. As more and more zombies are coming after her, Sarah ignites an incendiary and throws it directly at the zombies. Surprisingly, zombies are afraid of fire. Seizing the opportunity, the three of them hurriedly dashed into an armored vehicle and sped off towards safety. Meanwhile, back at the radio station, Paul insisted on staying behind to wait for rescue, while Trevor and the others were determined to find a vehicle and escape. This led to a heated argument. Suddenly, Nina noticed a blood-stained tissue in a nearby trash can, indicating that one of them was infected. Nina quietly picked up the knife behind her and slowly stood up, taking it out and asking the three of them who had the nosebleed. Paul and the couple began to shift blame and make excuses. In the midst of the standoff, the wife sneezed, thankfully without any nosebleeds. However, Paul's body stiffened, and his pupils turned white. Acting swiftly, Nina drove the knife into Paul's head, eliminating the threat. Trevor, seizing the opportunity, rushed to the broadcasting equipment, desperately seeking help. Meanwhile, Sarah, the three of them go to a weapon shop to restock their equipment, otherwise they would not be able to deal with such a fierce zombie. As a precaution, Sarah securely bound Bud's hands before leaving the vehicle, but Sarah and Salazar had just stepped out of the car when Bud immediately got a nosebleed, indicating that the mutation had begun. By the time Sarah and Salazar returned to the vehicle with enough weapons, with Sarah's assurance, Salazar had to give up killing Bud for the time being. There was no time to waste. Just as they were about to leave the town, they heard Trevor's voice coming from the car radio. Sarah immediately turned back and rushed to the radio station. She asked Trevor if there were any other people upstairs. Nina decided to go upstairs alone and call the couple downstairs to leave together. But when Nina pushes open the door, she sees the man's body nod to mush. Suddenly, an eerie roar echoed from behind Nina. Her screams caught the attention of the people downstairs. Reluctant to leave his girlfriend behind, Trevor rushed upstairs to assist. Fortunately, Nina managed to temporarily evade the woman who attacked her. Trevor grabbed a stool and together with Nina threw the woman downstairs. Salazar quickly raised his gun and shot the woman in the head. As they looked around, witnessing the increasing number of zombies, they knew they couldn't stay there any longer. They quickly got into the car, preparing to leave the town. On the way, Sarah noticed that these terrifying zombies retained some of their habits from when they were alive. For example, the Bud is a vegetarian, will not feed on humans, and will obey orders. They reached the town's exit, and Sarah intended to report the riots that had occurred in the town. However, she suddenly realized that the approaching soldiers had already turned into zombies. Trevor immediately reacted, jumped out of the car, and swiftly shot the approaching soldier's head. Unfortunately, Trevor's gunshot attracted even more zombie soldiers. The zombie soldiers aimed their guns at Sarah. In the face of the zombie soldiers' heavy firepower, Sarah had to get into the car again and flee the area. With the town's only exit blocked, they faced the dilemma of where to go. Trevor suggested driving along the lake to a deserted factory in the outskirts as a temporary refuge. Sarah immediately reversed the car and headed in that direction. However, not long into their journey, a ferocious zombie leaped towards them, shattering the windshield of the armored car. With half of the zombie's body inside the vehicle, Sarah they had no choice but to temporarily disembark and use their handguns to kill it before continuing on foot to the factory. As they arrived at the factory, Bud began emitting eerie screams from its mouth. Bud's passionate cries attracted a swarm of zombies that surrounded them. Strangely, instead of attacking Sarah and the others, the zombies formed a circle around Bud. The crowd hurriedly fled deeper into the factory. At that moment, several zombies followed them. Salazar picks up his gun and kills the zombie. They retreated and accidentally stumbled upon a laboratory. Inside, they found the researcher who had previously fled. He was attempting to destroy something. Sarah stopped him, pointing her gun at him. Facing the muzzle, the researcher had no choice but to reveal his secrets. It turned out they were conducting an experiment called Project Wildfire. The aim was to enable U.S. troops to overcome physical pain and turn into fierce war machines when engaging the enemy. However, due to data deviations, the experiment failed, resulting in the mutation of all the test subjects into zombies. As the researcher finished speaking, the roar of zombies could be heard outside the door. The group immediately drew their guns, preparing for battle. With the laboratory door opened, they saw a Dr. Zombie wearing a white coat. Although transformed into a zombie, it still possessed some intelligence, agility, and even the ability to climb walls. After a fierce confrontation, the Dr. Zombie vanished, hiding somewhere within the facility. Just as they were about to leave, the Dr. Zombie silently pulled the researcher away. By the time they realized this, the researchers had already met God. The horrifying scene frightened them all. They desperately wanted to escape from the eerie factory. However, they got lost in this huge factory. In an attempt to find an exit, Trevor suggested splitting up. The four of them quickly formed two groups to search for a way out. Unfortunately, Sarah and Salazar hadn't gone far when they encountered a large horde of zombies. Salazar was overwhelmed by the swarm of zombies, but Trevor arrived just in time to rescue Sarah from the danger. In the chaos, the three of them sought refuge in a nearby warehouse. Inside, Sarah discovered numerous gas canisters. She immediately directed Nina and Trevor to connect all the valves. After making the necessary preparations, Sarah forcefully opened the warehouse doors. Just as Sarah was about to use her gun to attract the zombies, the Dr. Zombie descended from above and took control of Sarah. In a critical moment, Bud grabbed a handgun and fired at the Dr. Zombie. The Dr. Zombie was hit by several bullets but became enraged. The Dr. Zombie immediately lunged at Bud. Due to the disparity in power, Bud was torn apart on the spot. Dr. Zombie picks up Bud's head and shows it off to the zombie horde. With Sarah out of immediate danger, she fired a shot into the swarm of zombies, causing them to rush towards her. Seeing the approaching zombies, Trevor ignited the gas pipes. The intense flames incinerated all the zombies at the entrance, reducing them to ashes. Sarah, Trevor, and Nina survived the ordeal. However, the road ahead remained perilous and full of dangers.